What's up, Fanout guys? Brian, Jeff, Colby here, talking about Iron Man 2 during our journey rewatching all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Sat down, rewatched Iron Man 2 over the last week since we last chatted. Came out in 2010. So it's 11 years. It's hard to think
It's
the
crazy
journey we've been through, over a decade of Marvel movies. But yeah, personally, I'm going to jump right into it. Iron Man 2, rewatching it. In our initial, before the rewatch ratings, I didn't look back at my Iron Man 2 rating, but I remember it being pretty low. I've always considered it one of my least favorite MCU movies. I've not really rewatched it since it was new.
Really?
Yeah, I changed my mind after rewatching it.
Yeah.
So I've changed my mind. I was wrong. The movie's a lot better than I remember. So I'm actually very surprised with where I rated it compared to where I thought I would.
Yeah, I always liked this one. I know a lot of people hate it. I thought it was a pretty solid sequel. And we'll get into it more. But Jeff, what did you think watching it again?
Pretty much the same exact thing that Brian just said. Almost verbatim.
Nice. Yeah, I remembered not liking this movie.
Yeah, I believe I watched it one time and haven't watched it since because I was like, that's all right.
Yeah.
Let's get into some details on the ratings. Which one did you want to do first?
I
know which one you're going to do last. So,
which one am I doing last?
Rewatchability. That's the one you always do last.
Yeah, that is the one I do last. Yeah, I feel like that's a good summary for how you feel about everything else, right? Let's start with music. I feel like with the Iron Man movies, one thing it has gotten right in every single film is it's got good rock music that really fits with what's going on. It just Iron Man and rock works. Don't know why, but it does. Outside of that, the original music is forgettable beyond belief. So I was very torn between a 3.5 or a 4, so I gave it a 4. Giving it a little bit of extra credit just because the music's not bad, it's just not rememberable.
Rememberable?
Yeah,
that's what you're going with? All right.
Rememberable. I have a cold. I've had part of a beer. Bad combination.
Part of a beer.
You've always had part of a beer. I don't think you've ever had a full beer.
Look, when you drink weird beer like me, it's an accomplishment to finish a whole beer.
You got this shit right, because I can't never. Every time I try one of yours, I'm like, I'm going to pour this out.
Yeah.
Like,
I still haven't tried the beer you left at my house 3 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeff, what do you have
at this point?
What do you have for the musical score in this one?
I also have a 4. The more I watched it, well, I watched the whole damn thing. I can't say really the more I watched it, but the longer I got into the movie, the more songs I realized that I knew that were in that movie, and I was like, damn, this is. I don't know if I would have paid attention to it as much if we weren't, rating it the way we do.
Yeah.
But I gave it a 4, man, because they do have some really good songs. Got AC/DC in there. I can't remember all of them, but there were some good songs. The score is pretty good.
Yeah, I have it as a 3, and it's not any kind of slight to the movie or anything. It's just what you just said actually kind of made me go the opposite way. How I was telling myself, okay, I don't want to rate it so high because we're paying attention to it. I want to rate it as it is. Are there truly any memorable scores in the movie? And I do remember the AC/DC songs and all of the stuff that Tony listens to and all that stuff and all the rock music, but I do remember the opening credits song, which I thought was kind of cool when Whiplash is kind of putting this stuff together, but I don't remember a lot of other music from the movie. And a 3 is still a solid score. I'm not going to say that I hated it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So that's where I'm at.
It's better than the 0 that Jeff gave something last round. So.
Yeah.
Hey, that shit sucked. I didn't even finish watching the movie.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
Let's jump over to cinematography, and we'll start with you, Jeff. or
Um,
Colby.
yeah, go ahead,
So,
Colby.
or whoever. I meant
fine.
Colby. I said Jeff.
That's fine.
I don't really care.
I've got some notes
Jeff, you'll
on.
go first next one.
Yeah, I got some notes on this. I have the cinematography as a 4. The there's three scenes alone that just sort of stand out to me as being just beautiful scenes. The Monaco race, the very not very beginning, but towards the beginning of the movie, is just beautifully shot. The I mean, it's not realistic at all, but when Whiplash, breaks the front of the car and then the car lifts up and then he's just walking slowly and there's all these explosions behind him and he's just walking like a total gangster. Like, it's just such a great shot. The fight at Tony's house is amazing between him and Rhodey when he's in the Mark II and they're just literally punching each other. And, and then there's one shot like from inside Tony's fireplace where you can like see like the Iron Man suit is being burned and stuff, and it's just a cool, angle. And then the expo, all of the stuff that takes place at the expo in the beginning of the movie and the end is just beautiful. The Oracle globe thing they have, I really like the way this movie is shot. So I got a 4.
I also give it a 4. Basically, exactly what Colby said. Most of those shots were really well done. The CGI was pretty freaking good. I mean, it was believable when he's flying around. It wasn't glitchy and complete shit. It was way above the Hulk. Okay, it was so much better. It was refreshing to see. Like, okay, this was early into Marvel's historic run, and this is where you could tell they were getting the shit together, and it was going for something good.
Yeah, and I also gave it a 4. There's a reason I pointed out that this movie came out in 2010, and that is that in rewatching it this week in 2021, the graphics still stand up, and it feels like it was just made a year ago.
Yeah.
It feels like it just came out. Like the quality of the animations, the Iron Man suit, the effects of Whiplash's whips, even the little details in the race scene you're talking about, Colby. You can see the asphalt of the track like getting charred up from the whips hitting it.
Yeah.
Or like there was a lot of detail that they put into the special effects.
That Mark V, the football suit, as he calls it, the one that he has like a little briefcase, and then it kind of like, it's the first one that we see where he can actually like deploy it like in the field, and it's a lot more I guess scaly than the other suits because it has to be portable. It's not quite as bulky, it's a little bit more form fitting, and it's just a cool design. It sucks that we only get to see that one scene.
But so yeah, I'm at a 4. Can't remember if I said that or not, but the special effects definitely, they've aged very well, which you can't say for a lot of movies from 2010. I mean, we just watched Hulk, which is not much older than this, and that did not age well at all. And then also there was some really wonderful shots, like not just action sequences, but there was a lot of good camera work even in the non-action scenes. It was a well thought out movie.
Well, even like when they were jumping out of the back of the airplane, when Tony was in the back of the airplane at the beginning of the movie, and he flies down. I mean, that was a great shot, and he comes down and lands. And, I mean, it looked believable. Even now watching it, it looked like, damn, that really looks like that was done.
Yeah, he looked like he tore both of his ACLs. It looked really realistic.
Yeah. I actually didn't bring my notes into the room, but one of the things I jotted down is I actually loved how, the old film that they did of Howard Stark and how that they were kind of playing off of a Walt Disney.
I was gonna say that place is totally video. Epcot. Like that city he's building is Epcot. I mean,
and I don't know, even that old footage, they did a really good job making it feel genuine.
Yeah, like you could hear that projector spinning, and you could see the bubbles on the film and stuff. Yeah.
So just they paid attention to what they were doing. So let's blend over to the cast. Jeff, you go on this one.
The cast,
performance.
I gave that a 4. I was between a 4 and a 5. I really enjoyed the cast. I thought that's when they brought in. Of course, I'm not going to remember his name.
Don Cheadle.
Yes, Cheadle. And they replaced Pimpin' Ain't Easy. What's his name?
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard. But yeah, he did a great job. I'm glad they made that switch when they did, because I feel like if they'd have done it after this movie, it just wouldn't have been the same because he's had such a prominent role in this one. Mickey Rourke, was very impressed with him. I remember the first time I watched it because I've always liked Mickey Rourke as like an actor, even
Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man.
Like he was always good. He's got a hell of a lot of facial work done. But like him speaking, what was it, French and German or whatever? Like it was believable. Russian. I mean, it was believable. He played that character to a T, and I think he did a really good job.
What my bird?
Bort.
Yeah, but yeah, it was. I gave it a 4.
What you got, Colby?
I also have a 4 for this. Mickey Rourke is okay. I said okay, but I meant that in a like really good way. Like he's like, he's okay. Like he's good. I don't love his accent, but I get it. It's Russian accents. Any accent is hard to pull off, to be honest. One thing I don't like about him specifically is just like with Edward Norton, I don't buy him as a scientist. Like he's like he's putting all these suits together and stuff. Like I could buy him as like a grease monkey type, but not as like a computer guy. Right. But whatever, it's fine. It's fine. Justin Hammer in this, played by
oh god,
Rockwell.
Yeah, I didn't even hit on him.
He's one of my favorite actors.
Sam Rockwell is one of my just like straight up guilty pleasure actors. Like I'll watch any movie he's in. He's so good. He's kind of like us. He's the audience member in this movie. Like he's the everyday guy who like
wants to be Iron Man.
He just wants to be Iron Man, And he's like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, can you speak English? Like, I can get an interpreter. For like 5 minutes, he's been talking to this guy, Right. And dude, his hands are like so fake tan in that scene. You ever notice that? Like his hands are like his palms are like straight up orange in that scene, and it's just like he's the kind of guy that would tan his damn palms. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I wonder if that was intentional.
I think it was. I think it was. I think he's really funny in the movie. He's kind of like the like the nerd in high school that writes the software code that makes him $1 billion, but he never really becomes popular because he is such a tool. But I don't know. I love his character. Don Cheadle's great. I love him too. I've been a fan of his for a long time. RDJ is who he is. I mean, at this point, the very beginning of the movie, the dude is trying to get him to relinquish his suit to the U.S. government. He's like, look, you can't have it. The suit and I are one. And that is my biggest problem with Iron Man 3. And I'll get into it when we talk about that. But Tony is Iron Man, period. There's no difference anymore. And he embraces that fully in this movie.
That's fair. I'm at 4.5. It's a little slightly higher than you guys. There's a couple of first time appearances in MCU in this movie too that were really good. John Cheadle obviously was amazing. Sam Rockwell, like you mentioned. I can't think of him. Yeah, Sam Rockwell.
Yeah,
I can't think of.
I keep forgetting. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. There's a few more too. Like, so Sam Rockwell, like you mentioned, guilty pleasure. I can't think of a movie he's in that I don't like. He's in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Yes.
You call that a family?
If you haven't seen it, he's in a movie called Moon. If you guys haven't seen it, watch it. He is the only character in the movie. That's physically there. It is so good.
I'll have to check that out. My favorite performance of his is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when he plays the president of the universe. And he's basically George W. Bush. Like it's so good, dude.
But go check out Moon. I want to know what you guys think about it.
He also plays the neighbor and F is for Family. I don't know if I've never even talked to you guys about it, but it's the Bill Burr on Netflix. Oh my god, it's cartoon and it is so freaking funny. He plays a neighbor and he's a disc jockey, like that lives next door to supposedly Bill Burr's dad back in the 70s. And he's like a hippie and he drives Bill Burr's dad
That sounds
fucking
perfect.
slap nuts, dude. It is so
Nice.
freaking great.
I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, it introduced Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow.
Sexy as ever. So
Samuel
hot.
Jackson.
I think it's her. I think it's
Paltrow.
her best fight scenes in the MCU is in this movie because she's really like kind of parkourish and sort of like Krav Maga and stuff. Like I love her action in this movie.
Her best look is in this movie too.
I agree.
But
like long hair, red hair.
Yeah, they kept changing her hair color, her outfits. Like I feel like they got her right in this, and they just kind of kept experimenting with her. But yeah, just great cast. Kind of a fun thing I like to point out too is people that are in an MCU movie that are also other characters in other superhero movies. So Kate Mara is in this as a U.S. Marshal, which is was it, an Invisible Woman from Fantastic Four, right?
Fan Four Stick.
Yeah. So that was fun.
That was fun.
Who is Stanley? Larry King.
Yeah, Larry King.
Yeah.
But then I think this is John Slattery's first time appearing as Howard Stark.
Correct. Yeah, it was a different actor in the first one because he didn't really speak.
Yeah. But he's super believable as an older Howard Stark. I thought he did really good in those kind of Disney-esque scenes. But yeah, nothing to complain about. So 4.5 for me.
I'm actually gonna move mine to 4.5 also because I was in between. But now that the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I really do like that cast.
Yeah, you were the one that started the half-point scores, Jeff.
Yeah, I know, and the zeros.
Yeah, I don't even know what to do with that.
Well, we got a 0 coming up, so not for this movie, but Iron Man 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I'm not gonna stop talking about it.
Zeros.
I'm gonna bring up Iron Man 3 every movie.
Yeah. All right, so we got 2 categories left. Let's go with plot.
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, me, huh? I think the plot is realistic, given kind of the origin of Howard Stark kind of taking, not like inadvertently taking credit for something that someone else contributed to is somewhat believable. But I think for good reason, obviously, with the whole like, what was it, Nazi or Hydra sympathizer or whatever. But I could see that happening with someone that's a multimillionaire, like tech mogul. Like stuff like that happens in the real world.
You don't get rich like that without taking credit for something you didn't do.
Yeah, it happens, and whether it's on purpose or not, it's
happens. Just the game. You got to get before you get got.
Yeah, and so I think the plot is at least believable with someone like wanting to go and like ruin the image of somebody whenever he felt like Ivan. What's his name in the movie? Ivan Vanko.
Yeah, which isn't Vanko. Anton Vanko? Isn't he Crimson Dynamo? Like in general? Yeah.
So it's believable. I'll say it's not the best plot in the world. What I remembered not liking about this movie is I always thought Whiplash was kind of a lame character.
Yeah,
to be in an MCU movie.
That still holds up for me.
Yeah. So I feel like it would have been better with a better villain, and that's really all I can say about his Whiplash. Just he's a B-level villain in a A-class superhero movie. So
I liked Ivan better than like Whiplash himself. Like I liked the dude Mickey Rourke better than his persona. You know,
right?
Yeah.
So you got a 4 for that?
Yeah. It was a complete plot. It wasn't, and actually, I'm gonna drop it. I'm going to 3.5.
Damn it! So, all right, you're 3.5. So I had 3.5 because of everything you just said, and then I remembered that Tony discovers a new element in this movie, and I'm just like, nope, 0.5 down. But you're right. I mean,
so you're at 3.5. You said?
I'm at 3.5. Yeah, within the context of a superhero movie. In the MCU, the plot is believable, you know, because the first thing that someone would do after Iron Man becomes a thing and becomes global would be to steal his designs and make another version of it. I mean, that's exactly what would happen. So,
yeah.
You know, I will say that I'm glad they didn't really lean into Tony's alcoholism, because that's such a big thing in the comics, and it's like it was a little predictable. Everybody was like, oh, after seeing the first one, he's gonna be a total drunk in the second one. And I'm glad they like alluded to it with that one scene where he just gets hammered that one night, but he's not like a drunk at all. You know, he just had
Right.
he's dying. He's literally dying, and he's just trying to get through, you know, life. And I'm glad they didn't like make that the focus of the story, because it just would have been too on the nose, I think.
I'm glad you touched on that, because that's what I was going to talk about. Like, I don't know nothing of the comics. I didn't know that he was a drunk or anything. I'm trying to fix this camera.
Yeah, that's in the comics. That's one of his biggest.
Yeah, it's sort of like his
things in the early comics.
arch enemy basically is him fighting against himself, basically.
Well, see, that I was going to touch on that, because that's the one part of the movie that I didn't like. Like, it almost like they tried to make
it is kind of out of place if you're not familiar with it.
Yeah, and they almost tried to make him be too much of a jackass in that scene. And I'm like, where's this coming from? Like, I get like he's sick and dying, but he's a fucking, you know, genius. You know, he's going to figure things out. You wouldn't, because up to this point, he's a bachelor and playboy and whatever, but you don't just see him like getting sloppy. You know what I mean?
Right. Like there's parts in the first one where he's sort of casually drinking. Like after he unleashes the Jericho, he's like, hey, there's a, you know, have some champagne or whatever, you know, and then stuff like that. But you're right. He's not just like it's sort of subtle. It's subtle if you look for it, but it's not like in your face about him being a total alcoholic, which I'm glad they didn't go down that road.
I think that was actually kind of a low-key thing that I picked up watching it this time, is Black Widow is the one that convinces him to let loose and have that party.
Yeah.
And I think that it might have actually been a plan to get him to hit a low, because they saw that whenever he hit a rock bottom is when he became Iron Man.
Yeah,
and
I never considered that, but that's totally plausible.
That's a badass fan theory.
Yeah, because it's
Brian,
not until after that.
Why don't you fan out?
Jesus Christ.
That's what I'm doing. But it's not until after he hits rock bottom, when he's hungover the next day eating donuts, like Samuel Jackson shows up, is like, hey, you got to be better than this. And
yeah, that's true.
Makes a lot of sense.
I think that was intentional.
Shield.
And Black Widow is a master manipulator.
Right. Yeah, so they knew about that relapse pretty quick, you know, or not relapse, but like breakdown pretty quick about like, hey, the next day we know where to find him at the donut place. So maybe that was it, man. Maybe they had it all figured out from the beginning. I never considered that. That's good.
Yeah, I just picked up on it on this viewing. So
I actually gave it a 3, because for some reason, and I probably shouldn't go low, but I don't want to be a 3.5 and follow you guys. But it just irked me, like that whole. But when I'm watching it, I didn't know anything about him being an alcoholic. You know,
right? But see, you shouldn't have to, though.
Out of place.
Yeah. You shouldn't have to. The movie should present that to you organically. Right. So the fact that it didn't, you know, was a negative for you. So that's the whole point.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I also think that they may have not gone into it as much, because RDJ, obviously, like Iron Man was his redemption
for sure.
Right.
So it was really weird, some of the tones in this film, because they're talking about Tony Stark, but they're also talking about his redemption.
Yeah, and that was what I was saying about it being on the nose. Like, I didn't want him to play a character who is so far gone, you know, and I'm like, well, that's kind of what he was going through, you know, like I didn't want that to be a thing, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I could see why you'd rate that a little lower, Jeff, especially not knowing that history from the comics.
So that leaves Brian's old nemesis, rewatchability.
My favorite category. Yeah. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
No, you go first.
No, you go first.
No, you stop. I have it.
Go first.
I have it as I have it as a 3.5, which is to say a good 3.5. I really do enjoy this movie. I know a lot of people think it's one of the worst in the MCU, which I just don't get. I think that this movie is criminally underrated, as is the next movie that we will watch, Thor. And I'll get into that. Nope, I'll get into that later. But I do really enjoy this movie. I do have to be kind of in the mood to watch it, though, because of the fact that we've come so far in the MCU in general that it's really difficult for me to just rewatch Phase 1 movies unless it's just the OG Avengers movie, because I can put that on at any time and just have it on repeat. This movie I have to be in the mood to rewatch, but I do really enjoy it when I rewatch it. It's kind of weird. Like, it seems like I'm not enjoying it, but I am. So 3.5 for me.
I also have it at 3.5. And if you'd have asked me when we did our little list right then, without rewatching it, what I would have rated it then, I would have said a 1.
Yep.
Because it wasn't memorable to me.
People hate this movie, and I don't know why.
And watching it now, it's a good movie. Like, I don't know what I was thinking back when I watched it, or where I was at in life, or like, I just don't. I wish I could go back and remember what I was thinking when I saw it. Because it really is a good movie.
I think it's the villain that puts people off in this movie. I'll let Brian talk, but I think it's the villain overall.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm at a 3.5 also.
Nice.
So
I thought I was going to be too low
across the board. Yeah, I thought I was going to be a 3. I picked it up. But anyways, the villain, while I love Rourke, he's a great actor. Whiplash is just kind of boring. Like, his action scenes are fun, but he's not like, he doesn't engross me.
Typical Phase 1 villain, just he's there just to move the plot along, but he's not going to win. He's not danger to anyone.
Yeah, and that, I think the climax of the movie, like, once he's in the Iron Man like esque suit with the whips and stuff, is very lackluster.
He looks much cooler when he starts. Looks much cooler in Monaco when it's like, what's up?
Touch on something with him. I think he's so off-putting because he doesn't have a personality. He's not sharp-witted. He doesn't say funny shit. He's just kind of there, like, and I guess that is how a bad guy would be in real life. You know what I mean? Like a Jason, doesn't say anything. A Michael Myers, you're just supposed to be scary, not supposed to be, funny like most of the villains are in the MCU. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of depth. Like, he's there to fuck shit up, and that's it.
Yeah.
But to me, the funnest part of this movie is actually Sam Rockwell's character, like the interactions with Hammer. And
when he's dancing on the stage, like
he tells that joke, and then it totally doesn't like land at all, and he's like, get that out of here. Like, I love that scene.
Yeah, but so I think there's enough. I would be lower if there wasn't a lot of like humor mixed in with it, like the lightheartedness that a lot of the movie does have, even though it does have some dark moments. Like, that lightheartedness does help lift up the rewatchability for me.
Right.
One thing I will say about this movie, if you don't like it, give it a chance, rewatch it. But if you are any fan of Jon Favreau at all, I'm not talking to you guys necessarily, I'm talking to everybody, go watch a movie called Chef, and it stars Jon Favreau. That movie is basically Jon Favreau's like real life story of the behind the scenes of this movie. So like, what happens to the character in that movie Chef is basically an allegory for what Jon Favreau went through directing this movie, because there was a lot of
shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of studio interference with this one, and when you watch the movie, some of the scenes that happen, you start to put the pieces together, and you're like, wow, okay, Favreau got a little like screwed by Marvel on the second one. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah,
did not know
that. But yeah, and echoing my movie recommendation, go watch Moon, starring Sam Rockwell. It's a killer movie.
I'll have to check that out.
So ratings, cinematography, we all tied at a 4. Cast performance, we balanced out at 4.3. Plot, we weighed in at 3.3. Rewatchability, we all agreed at 3.5. Music score was a little mixed at 3.7. That gives us a final overall score of 3.8.
Not bad.
That's pretty good. What was our Iron Man one? 4 something?
1 second, I'll tell you.
I have it. I'm pulling it up. 4.3 overall. So yeah, I mean, That's about where I'd say that the original one is about 0.5 overall, better than this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say I'm pleasantly surprised because when we were initially creating this grading scale, I honestly thought Iron Man 2 was going to come in at like a 2.
Yeah, you're going to be shocked, man, because some good movies have really good parts to them, but some parts are not, you know, like you may not like the cinematography or whatever, and it may bring the whole score down, but this is one of those ones where it's not one of the most well-loved movies, you know, in the MCU, but
so
we all liked it a lot on a rewatch. I've always liked it.
We are going to argue when we get to Iron Man 3 because I'm way ahead of you guys on the rewatch, and I've rewatched it, and it scored better than I thought it would. We're going to fight.
It's fine. I'll just mute your mic for 30 minutes while I talk shit about it. So
I would say it's not as good as this, but it's a lot better than what we joke at.
Well, I'm moving mine from C to B.
I still have this overall in C because of the movies ahead of it are just better, in my opinion. But this is not. I don't want people to think this is a C grade movie at all. Like this movie is good. This is. It's got, you know, there's not a lot of action, but it's more of a character development story than anything else. You know.
And what's crazy is I actually forgot that Black Widow was in. This is when she appears.
Yeah, this is during the universe building of the MCU. Like they're throwing in all kinds of new characters,
Coulson is in this, and he's just kind of like, you know, Coulson is in like every movie in phase 1 except for Hulk. But I mean,
he's only in this for them to tease Thor.
Right? Yeah, basically.
Yeah, because after credit scene.
The World of Enchantment or what land?
You know what though? Like I don't even know if I knew when I first watched this movie when it first came out. I don't even know if I knew who Black Widow was. That's probably
most
why
people
I didn't.
I mean, they'd heard the name, but they didn't know who it was. You know?
Yeah, I guarantee I had no clue who she was when I watched this the first time.
Dude, it was so funny. I think in the theater that I was watching it at, like, I guess someone had not seen the trailer or whatever, and like when she says her name, she's like Natalie Rushman, and the dude's like, "That's fucking Natasha Romanoff," and I was like, "Oh my god, Jesus!" Like he screamed it, dude. Like he like some revelation or something. He was like, "Yeah, dude, you got it." You know?
He like turned the page in the comic book.
Yeah. So like, I never did ask Brian why he just felt the need to just scream that in the theater. It was weird.
Yeah, Brian, have some respect.
All right, guys.
I think the last thing I screamed in a movie theater.
Yeah. This was a fun one. I enjoyed rewatching this. I'm actually really excited to talk about Thor. That's another one that doesn't get a lot of respect that I think is criminally underrated. So we'll see what you guys feel on that.
I'm really enjoying these because it's giving me, you know, at night you just sit there and you start scrolling through Netflix or Amazon and you're like, dude, I've seen all this shit. Like, I want something new, but this gives us a reason to rewatch some of the good movies that you really wouldn't put on unless, you know, absolutely had nothing else to fucking watch.
And it's cool too, going back and rewatching these, right? Because we've had 20 some odd movies, and now going back to the roots of it all. There's a lot of things that I'm noticing in the older movies where I was like, oh shit, they were setting up something that happened 15 movies later. I didn't even realize. So
it's definitely fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, we won't linger too long. Everybody, let us know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, share. Tell us that Colby's wrong, except he's not that wrong because we scored about the same.
I was going to say, I mean, all right, fine. You guys are wrong too.
Wrong anyways. But anyways, fan out.
Fan out, boys.
See you guys. Fan out.
And girls.